Hey everyone, I've been wanting to make a video about this boat for quite a while. Done a few bits and pieces here and there, but never a full video. So today we're going to go on a bit of an adventure. It will be my first solo trip in the boat, at least on saltwater. I have been out on a lake by myself, but not in saltwater. So going to be a bit of a learning experience for me, and I'm going to take you guys along. Wanted to show you a little bit about the boat first. This is a 1969 Reinell 19-foot. It is all original, and it just rolled 100 hours on the original motor. Last week I went out with a buddy. So this is where I keep it, in my in-laws barn. This is where I found it after it sat for quite a while. It was used a little bit back in the 60s. And then it was used once or twice in around 98, and then it sat again until 2020 when I pulled it out and got it running. So I'll take you guys back here, show you the motor. It does have a matching 7.5 kicker. I have not been able to get that to run reliably, so I just don't even keep it on there at this point. This is the original 69 Mercury 800, which is an 80 horsepower motor. Not an 800 horsepower. I actually had a local sheriff stop me thinking I had an 800 horsepower motor on this, believe it or not. Inside, like I said, it's all original. I have added a couple electronics just to make life easier. And I did build just a little cover to cover the fuel tank so the sun doesn't beat on the primary tank. Get up in here and just show you. So I've got a 12-gallon primary tank, and then I've got a 6-gallon kind of reserve tank. So on the last trip I used the 12-gallon, and that's fresh fuel. The 6-gallon though is still from last year, so today we're going to go ahead and run off of that. What else have I installed here? I installed a battery cutoff switch just to make things a little safer. And up front here, I have installed a VHF, UHF radio, just to be able to monitor the Coast Guard Channel 16. And I've installed a Garmin fish finder. And I really just did that for depth, because I did not have a depth finder before. So that's been a really nice addition. There's no maps on it. I use Navionics on my iPhone, and I just mount that in the RAM mount in order to do that. I also installed a $30 car radio. Wasn't too worried how long it lasts, although it's been in here for 3 years now. I didn't really think about it, but the sound of this two-stroke, there's no point in having a radio. You can't hear anything, so. And I don't really trust the battery to not drain down while listening to it stopped, so. Really don't use it, but it's there. There's one 6x9 speaker under the dash that I just have in an enclosure. Looks like it's covered by the life jackets right now. Yeah, other than that, this is it. Brother gave me the little hula girl, so that's been a little addition on the dash. As you can see though, 101 hours on the clock and all original gauges. So why don't you guys come with me and we'll go on a bit of an adventure today. Alright, so that was my first successful launch solo, so might not seem like a lot to a lot of you, but to me, with an old boat with no power trim or tilt, and my first time doing that, I think it was a success. So we got the plugs in. We're going to let the motor warm up a little bit. This thing is a little temperamental when it's cold. So in order to get this boat running, when I first pulled it out of the barn, I went ahead and changed the water pump, which was about a week-long adventure in and of itself. The lower was so seized on there that I actually had to use a bottle jack to press it off with the front stud sticking out the front of the midsection. And I had to slowly apply pressure with that bottle jack while heating it up and applying some CRC freeze off. And after about 3 days of doing that, it finally popped overnight. And then I was able to change the water pump. I also had to take the carbs apart, get them ultrasonic cleaned by a buddy of mine. And I replaced the spark plugs, but they were honestly fine. Everything else has been great with it. I changed the lower gear oil at least once a year, just out of precaution. It's cheap and easy to do. Other than that, she's been actually a pretty strong boat. I did rewire the boat side, which wasn't as difficult as it sounds. There's only a few circuits on this thing, because the wiring was pretty old. But other than that, it's been pretty good. Just so you guys know, air temperature today, probably about 50, 53 degrees. The water temperature is 47 degrees, according to my depth finder here. And I am gonna take you guys out and show you Deception Pass. and we'll see how we feel after that. We might head towards LaConner. Don't know if we'll make it all that way or not. Let me just get these fenders in and then we'll get up on plane. And you know what? I am out here by myself. You guys can make fun of me all you want, but it is the smart thing to do when you're by yourself. To make sure you go ahead and have some sort of flotation device already on. Doesn't do you any good if you get into trouble. Especially since we're going outside of the pass here. I want to make sure I'm ready and prepared for that. All right, here we go. I did a quick adjustment of the camera there so you guys can see forward. This is Deception Pass. We're going about 23 knots right now. We're at 4,100 RPM on this 80 horsepower motor. This bridge connects Island to Whidbey Island in Washington State. The Puget Sound and eventually the Pacific Ocean is straight out in front of us, with Skagit Bay behind us, Cornet Bay directly behind us. We'll shoot out here, and then if the tide and currents allow, maybe we'll come back through Canoe Pass, which is the smaller, more narrow passage to my north, to the right of the boat. Going to come to a stop here so I can show you guys the bridge. This bridge was completed in 1934, I believe. Before that, there was no way to drive to Whidbey Island. This is still the only way to drive to Whidbey Island. Now, the currents through here can sometimes be upwards or even exceed 8 knots. So if you get a westerly breeze as well, you can get some 10-foot rollers here pretty good. I am a fair weather boater, so you will not find me out here in those conditions. And there are a lot of boats that cannot traverse this pass in those conditions. So the pass over there on the left, that's Canoe Pass. I think we're going to try and meander through there. I did see a tour boat that might be trying to come through there, so we're going to go nice and slow. Hopefully no one's coming at us. And then we'll cruise around a little bit. So the tide is coming in, so we are going with the tide into this channel, which actually makes the steerage a little bit more difficult. Sitting in about 100 feet of water right now. Actually, it looks like I might have misjudged the current. We are definitely going into the current right now. Get all kinds of weird eddies and little mini currents around here that make it sometimes a little difficult to tell. Water depth is down to about 50 feet right here in this narrow channel. 28 feet. So this hillside over here, you probably can't really tell, but right there is actually an old cave that they used to make prisoners, make big rocks into small rocks there. The cave is now boarded up and gated up with iron because some kids have died trying to get into there. So do not watch this video and try and rappel down to there. A lot of people die. And there is the Island Whaler. That is a whaleboat / Deception Pass jet boat tour. And he was nice enough to let us through that channel there. So we're gonna head around the corner and potentially go to LaConner. Underway, headed towards LaConner, and I just lost power under load. I think the fuel tank might have been too tight, but the check valve was open, so I'm not quite sure why it seemed to have lost power. I'm gonna see if I can get back up on plane. We might just call it a day because Going all right. Let's do a loop around here. That must have been it. I don't run this 6-gallon tank that often, so I do remember it being a little more finicky though. I really want to burn out this fuel though, as it's been sitting in there for a year, so it is non-ethanol, so it should still be good. So this island over here on the right side of the boat is Goat Island, and on there, buried in the woods, is actually an old World War I fort that was built to guard the Puget Sound. Might have been World War II, I apologize. Built to guard the Puget Sound and never really used. We are now inside the Swinomish Channel. We're going to give plenty of space to this boat coming through here. Like a ferry, probably going to the San Juans. We'll go through his wake here. So we're now inside the Swinomish Channel, which is all a no-wake zone. A little more important as we get up towards where the boats are, but below nonetheless. And a couple minutes, about 5 minutes, we'll be at the town of LaConner, which is a really cool town with a river front. It's actually a channel front little walkway. Some good bars and restaurants. We'll take a break there, and then we'll head back home. So this is the Rainbow Bridge that we're passing under, named because it is the shape of a rainbow. Pretty original, I know. And this separates tribal land on my left, which I apologize if I get this wrong, but I believe it's the Swinomish tribe here. And on the right is the town of LaConner. There's a lot of tribal fishing and crabbing that comes out of these tribal lands on the left. And on the right, there's some old canneries that are no longer around. And just a really cool town to come visit. A lot of art, a lot of good food, good drinks. And you can boat ride up to it, or you can drive up to it from the land side. Now we're gonna come up here to one of these docks. There are some public floats here that you can tie up against for a few hours, have lunch, and then be on your way. If you keep going north in this channel, you will actually come out to the town of Anacortes. So it's actually a lot of fun to make a full loop around the town of Anacortes and back to where we started. But for today, we're just going to be turning around after we take a quick break here and headed home. I wanted to do this video and this trip because I wanted to show you guys that you can have fun on a cheap boat. Now I did get this boat out of my in-laws' barn, so there wasn't any cost associated with that. I would bet I have about $1,500 into maintenance and repair, getting this thing going and being reliable. And probably another $500 in safety and electronics, you name it. But you can have fun. All I see on YouTube are videos of yachts out here in the Puget Sound, or $100,000 fishing boats, and that's just not for everyone. And it's nice to get out here and enjoy the water. It's the same water. It doesn't matter if you're on those $100,000 boats, those yachts, or this cheap $2,500 max boat. So check in after we tie up here. So we got a little bit of wind coming through here and a little bit of current. And as I said, this is one of my first solo trips. So this might be a tad bit stressful, but we're gonna see what we can do. And we made it. Not too stressful. Of course, now I got to tie up, so let's try and do that without drifting away. All right, we're tied up. I'm gonna take a quick break here and then we'll head on home. Just to show you real quick, here is a little cartoon map of the town of LaConner. We came in from down here, went under the Rainbow Bridge, tied up right around here, standing right around here. And you can see if you keep going up this channel, you end up in Padilla Bay. Anacortes over here. Mount Baker's the big mountain you might have seen. Don't know how well it showed up in the camera. So we're gonna return to the boat and head home.